Well, hello and welcome to the Hammond Iles Financial Power Hour. Today we're talking about protecting your finances, identifying and avoiding online scams and phishing attacks. It's one of those unfortunate side challenges that we face by the increased use of technology in our lives. And today we wanted to spend some time to talk to you a little bit about understanding what online scams are out there so that you can be more aware of them, some of the common phishing attacks and tactics that scammers are using these days, and share with you three real-life case studies of our own clients that have experienced scams and how you can recognize some of the red flags for watching out for them. Also, we're going to talk about some of the best practices in protecting your information, as well as the steps to take if you are unfortunately involved in a scam. And then we'll open up for questions at the end to answer any of your questions. Now, as I started to prepare for today's workshop, my wife was out and saw this card, and I thought it was very fitting that the hacker calls up, "I have all your passwords." And she says, "Oh my God, thank you. What are they?" It's one of those challenges that we all have, especially as we try to have unique logins for different websites as it becomes difficult to track our passwords. And that just makes it harder for us to kind of track all that online information. So today we're going to talk about this growing threat. And here is the scammy snapshot of 2024 provided and prepared by the Federal Trade Commission. And what we see is that the growing threat of scams online continue to grow and expand. It was a total of 12.5 billion with a B dollars reported lost last year. There were over 2.6 million fraud reports to the FTC, and more than 1 in 3 people who reported a scam also reported losing money. So what we're seeing is that they're also reaching out in many different formats. It can be a phone call where it's the highest per person reported loss of $1,500 on average. If you're become a victim of a phone scam, online on social media, there's been almost $2 billion lost just through scams in social media, as well as certainly the highest number of reports are from email. We'll talk a little bit about each of those. Also, there continues to be ongoing investment scams, promises of high returns with very little risk, or things that tap into our fear about the current economy and the future returns on our investments. Almost $6 billion last year were lost to investment scams. And it's not just for seniors and older people. What we find by the Federal Trade Commission by looking at the scams reported is that actually the 20 to 29-year-olds have the highest percentage of individuals being scammed. Now, for them, it's lower dollar amounts. So even though the 70 to 79-year-olds have a lower percentage that are susceptible to losing money through fraud, it's larger dollar amounts. So everybody can take heed of some of the lessons that we're going to share today because we are all susceptible to potential scams. And here are the ways and tactics that they're using to do it. First is email phishing. It's phishing with a PH because it's phony. It's fraudulent emails that mimic legitimate organizations, whether that's technology companies or government agencies our local financial institutions. They're sending and mimicking different legitimate organizations through email. Now, that's not the only way that they're contacting us. It's also through text messages now, through smishing, scams that are sent via text message. And then there's phishing, because they use voice calls pretending to be someone from trusted entities, or even as low as pretending to be one of your family members. They're using the phone, if you answer the call, to try to encourage you to send them money in one form or fashion. There are also website spoofing out there where they've actually gone to the level of creating a completely fake website that's designed to steal your personal information, to request you to enter that information into the website so that you enter that in. I just read in the Wall Street Journal talking about, for example, the unsubscribe button. And now that we have to be a little bit more careful when we click that unsubscribe button, because it could lead you to one of these spoofing websites asking you to put in your email or other personal information. So we need to be cautious about that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Then there's also malware and ransomware. And this is malicious software that is connected to a website or to an email or possibly a pop-up on your computer, that if you click on it, it downloads to your computer and it can gain access to the information on your computer, or it can completely lock down your computer and request a ransom to unlock that information. So we, again, have to be very cautious on what we click and what we pay attention to. So let's talk a little bit about some real-life cases. And these all happened actually within the last 6 to 12 months. This client received a phishing message via email. And when you look at it, it looks very authentic. It has the Microsoft 365 logo on it. It even had his name in the email, so it looked very official. However, if we just step back and take a look at this email, there are a number of things that we can see that don't look quite right. The first is taking a look at who did this email come from. This came from renewal at Intellinet Global Services site. It's not from Microsoft or any person at Microsoft, so that is a red flag right there. Also, this email that talks about adding an additional Microsoft 365 license onto his account, we'll see that the location of the activation was in Morocco. Probably not the best place. Certainly he wasn't in Morocco when he activated or potentially, allegedly activated this subscription. Also, you can start to see as you read through it, some of the language isn't quite right. That cancellation is not permitted and refunds will not be provided after the cooling off period. And when have you heard of a cooling off period related to your software subscription? That doesn't really apply. And when we take a look at the contact information, what we see is that the number provided is not a Microsoft toll-free number. It's an 805 number. And in this circumstance, unfortunately, what happened is the individual did not see these warning signs, called the number on here. The individual that he reached said that to check the additional subscription, they needed to scan his computer. He unfortunately provided them with access remotely to his laptop, and they spent 45 minutes scanning his computer. After that, The conversation turned to the fact that he needed to provide them an additional fee to do the work that they needed to do on his computer, and that it was going to be $15,000. And if you can believe it, not really knowing what was going on and being trusting of the individual on the phone, he actually went to the bank to request the funds. And fortunately for him, the teller noticed that this was not something that kind of smelled quite right and raised the flag that it was a scam, and fortunately was able to shut it down at that point, where he could then have his computer taken and searched by a computer expert to clean it up, make sure there was no software on it, and they could move forward. But it just goes to show that just a small email like this can lead you down a path that could potentially be a significant financial concern. Now, another example is smishing. This client, she received this text message on her phone, and it says, Schwab ACH debited from your account $3,592.15. If you did not request this ACH for your account security, please cancel the request by accessing this website. Now, fortunately for her, as I ask you, what would you do if you received this message, is that she called our office. She called me and asked, what's going on in my account? Did there really be an amount going out? And I said, no, there is no amount that went out of your account. And I asked her to send me a copy of the text, and so she did. And as we take a closer look at the text, I just want to point out some of the red flags again as we look at this smishing attack. Is if we take a look at who the message came from, again, it did not come from Charles Schwab. It actually didn't even come from a phone number. It came from some random email address on iCloud. Also, if we take a close look at the website that the message is directing them to, it's not Charles Schwab. It's close, slightly misspelled, and that will be the case in a lot of these scams, is that the messages and the websites that they're looking to direct you to will be very close to the real website, but not the actual website. And so in this case, just said to ignore the message, delete it, and block that number or address in her phone. And a third example of a real life case of one of our clients was a phishing scam. They received a phone call, Dad, I need your help. I'm in jail and I need $15,000 for bail. Now, if you received a panicked phone call from one of your children or grandchildren or someone asking for your help, they need money and they need it urgently, our instinct would be to respond to that. And in this case, again, the couple went right down to the bank to get the money for bail. However, again, an astute bank teller realized that it was a scam and asked them just one question that put a stop to the whole thing. Have you called your son? And so they stopped. They called their son, asked him if he was in jail when he answered the phone, and he said, no, that wasn't me. And so it turned out that it was a complete hoax. And fortunately for them, they were stopped before they lost any money. I'd like to say that it always works out that way, that either our firm or a bank teller or someone else intercedes and stops the scam from happening. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. And that's why I'm glad that you are joining us today, that we can talk about some of the red flags to keep an eye out for and steps that you can take to protect your financial information. So here are 4 warning signs of a scam. First is that scammers are always going to pretend to be from an organization that you know, whether that's the IRS, the Social Security Administration, Medicare, Microsoft, other technology company, the utility companies, or even a nonprofit organization where they're pretending to request a donation. Scammers will pretend to know somebody that you know and trust. And they tend to say that there is a problem or that there is a prize. You may have received that email scam that, congratulations, you received a lottery winning in some foreign country, and you only need to pay a certain amount to get that money into the country as it comes to you, or provide your bank information so they can send you your winnings. Or there's a problem. There's a problem with your utility bills, or as the text message that one of our clients, there's a problem with a distribution going out of your account. There's problems or challenges. Or it can be on the other end of that you have won some prize. And they will always pressure you to act immediately. They know that when we get into a high level of emotional attentiveness, it turns off the part of our brain that thinks logically. And so the scams are structured to deliberately raise our temperature and our emotions so that we lose sight of what is rational. And one of the other signs is scammers will tell you to pay in a specific way. Do they require you to get a money order from the bank? Do they request that you get gift cards? If somebody's asking you to pay your utility by sending them Walmart gift cards, that should be a red flag that they are indicating that you should pay it that way. Or paying with cryptocurrency, or that, you should pay for the IRS using Venmo or some other cash transfer app. If they are specifically telling you on how you need to pay, that can be a fourth warning sign of a scam. So now we know the warning signs. We know some things to be aware of. How are some tips that we can use to avoid being scammed? The first is not to respond to unsolicited email, text, or pop-up messages. And this is really important. One of the best things you can do is ignore them. If you receive an email from a company or someone that you don't know, just delete it. If you get a text message, which I do very regularly, just a text message out of the blue of, hey, how you doing? Or, I found your phone number in my phone. Who is this? If I don't know who it is that's texting me or emailing me, I just delete it. Because a lot of times what they're doing is sending out text messages, emails, or calling just random phone numbers, trying to find a live human being that not only is there to receive it, but also replies and responds to it. It's one of the messages in that article I read about unsubscribing, is that many times those messages are being sent and with a big unsubscribe link just to find out, is it someone that received it, and are they willing to take the action to click on that unsubscribe button? Because then they know that they have a live person there that's willing to open the email and take action, and they can pursue that further. So the best thing to do is ignore them. If you get emails, don't click unsubscribe. Just click on it and designate it as spam. You can block it. Same with text messages, and certainly pop-up messages when you go to a website that just pop up. be very, very cautious about clicking on anything in a pop-up. Look for the X in the top corner to close out of it without clicking on anything in it. Also, be very cautious about attached files. One of the things that we talked about as ways that people scam are through malware and ransomware, and that can be sent as an attachment to an email. So even though you may be curious as to what that attachment is, if you do not know the sender of the email, do not click on the attachment. Also, do not click on any links in an unsolicited email to go directly to a business's official website. Just like the email I showed you from supposedly from Microsoft, even if it had a link to go to Microsoft's website or supposedly go to Microsoft's website, rather than clicking on the link in that unknown email, a better course of action is to just go directly to that business's official website. So in that example, if I wanted to check my account with Microsoft, I should just go out of my email, go directly to my web browser and go directly to Microsoft and log into my account. Had I done that, I would have seen that I just have my one Microsoft 365 subscription. There is no second account or activated subscription, and I would know that it was a scam. Just like receiving a text message about a distribution from Charles Schwab. Rather than clicking on any links, go directly to Charles Schwab's website or the app that you might have on your phone and look at your account, and you'll see that there's no distribution. If you get a phone call, someone live on your phone call, ask for the name of who they should ask for, and then thank them, hang up, and then call the company directly with the phone number that you look up, whether it's the credit card number on the back of your credit card or it's a number that you have from an actual bill or contact information on their official website. Contact the company directly. It's the best way to avoid being scammed. Also, when you do go to a website, you want to make sure that it is a secure website. You'll see here in this example of the Hammond Iles website at hiwealth.com that you'll see the HTTPS, and the S stands for secure. And in many browsers, you'll see a little lock or logo there showing that it is a secure. This is in Windows Edge. If you use Chrome, you'll now see this little circle with a couple of lines and circles in it. If you click on that next to the website, it'll bring open a small window there that will share the site information, which includes whether or not your connection is secure. If for some reason you're on a website that is not secure, I would recommend closing it and not going any further on that website. We mentioned that the fact that one of the 4 red flags is the encouragement to act immediately. And for all of us, we need to resist the pressure to act. Rarely does any payment need to be made immediately, either over the phone or online. So if we take a pause and allow our brain to get away from the initial emotional reaction to the message that was either spoken to us or emailed or texted, then we have an opportunity for us to really take a look at it. Along with that, it also never hurts to stop and talk to someone you trust, whether it's someone here at Hammond Iles Wealth Advisors, a family member, a neighbor, or someone who you trust saying, hey, I got this message. It doesn't sound quite right. What do you think? Get a second opinion or a second pair of eyes looking at it and saying, hey, yeah, did you notice that that sender was not who they're purporting to be? That, oh, that website is misspelled. Oh, I didn't notice that. So a second pair of eyes can be a great way to avoid being scammed. As I mentioned, one of the other warning signs is that they request for it in specific ways, whether that's cash. In one instance, a gentleman was sent to someone's house to pick up the money order. That's not the way that bills get paid. So just be aware that these requests for a specific way of payment is a big red flag on being scammed. Unfortunately, these days, caller ID can't be trusted. It was used so that you would know who was calling you. But now through technology, people can change the way that their phone call or even the display name for their email looks to you as the recipient. So don't trust caller ID. Make sure that you independently check and go direct to the source. As I mentioned, if it's an email, don't click on a link in the email. Go directly to the company's website directly. If it's a phone call, take a name, extension, and say, I will call you back. Don't use the phone number that they give you to call them back. Get an independently checked number to call back. Always double check. Hover over the sender email so that you can see the exact email address that it was sent from, and look at every text message at the phone number or where it was sent from. Also, if you get a verbal phone call, oh, this is your grandson or your granddaughter or your son or daughter that needs help, ask them a personal question that a scammer would not know. A question like, where did you go to elementary school? Or do you remember that time we went on vacation together? Where did we go? Something that the person researching you or your family online is not going to be able to find. The vacation thing may not be a good example now that I think about it, especially if you're posting pictures from your vacation on social media. But think of something that you personally have experienced together that the scammer would not know. And as an added layer of precaution, consider adding your phone number to the National Do Not Call Registry. You can go to the website, which is donotcall.gov, or you can call them at 888-382-1222. Now, keep in mind that scammers don't pay attention to do not call registries. So if you get a phone call, that is a big flag right there that is probably a scam or someone who shouldn't be calling you to begin with. So you can just hang up or not answer the call. So while we're talking about protecting your financial information, I also wanted to talk about some tips on just protecting your financial information in general, whether that's online or just physically in our hands. And one tip is carry only what you need in your wallet or purse. Make sure that you're not walking around with copies of your birth certificate or social security card or Medicaid card when you don't need them. Just in the event that you may lose your wallet or purse, that you don't have any unnecessary information in it. Also, don't print any personal information on your checks. If you're depositing a check, you can help yourself by putting, for example, just the last four numbers of your account number if you're depositing a check to an investment account, or don't put your phone numbers or other personal information necessarily on a check. I know many times they require an address. However, don't write anything like your social security number or other information in the memo line that could be used by someone processing or seeing a copy of your check. Also, never share account numbers or personal information over the phone unless you initiated the call. If you're getting a call from your bank and they're asking you to verify your account number, then it's not a call from your bank because they're calling you and they should already know what your account number is. Now, they may verify some personal information to know that it's who they're talking to, but be very careful on phone calls that come to you. Again, I would suggest asking for a name and phone number, hanging up, looking up the number for your branch or the organization that needs a callback and calling them back if they need personal information. Also, it's important to monitor your accounts, your statements, and credit reports to report any discrepancies immediately. So you can make sure that there isn't a transaction on your account that you weren't aware of, especially when it comes to credit card statements. Make sure you're reviewing those as well as your bank statements. And that's even more important these days as many of us have unsubscribed to paper statements. So you're getting an electronic notification, hey, your statement is now available. Make sure that you still take the step to go into your app or on the bank website to review the activity in your account. One of the also helpful things that you can do, especially around credit cards, is that you can set alerts to warn you. For example, I have an alert on my credit card that tells me if a charge is being placed to my credit card without the card being present. So if I'm charging something online, I know I'm automatically going to get an alert because my card isn't present. A lot of times it's just verifying my own charges and activity, but it's a way for me to also be aware and keep an eye on any unsolicited or not my activity on my accounts. And although you may be hesitant to using credit cards online, credit cards can actually be the best way to make a purchase online because of the consumer protections on a credit card, that you have the ability to dispute a charge if it's not your charge. And there's other protections as to the limitation on what you could be liable for. So continuing with our 10 tips, number 6 is to shred documents that contain your personal and financial information. For those of you that are close to a Hammond Iles Wealth Advisors office, our offices do collect information that you would like to be shared. It's just on a daily basis. We have secure places in our offices to be able to shred information. So if you're coming to an office, you can bring that shredding with you and we'll make sure that we take care of it for you. Otherwise, keep an eye on your local town or local organizations that may offer free shredding. Otherwise, certainly you can purchase your own small shredder. It's just a little bit more time consuming. Also, do not use personal information for your passwords. You should not be using your mother's maiden name, the last 4 digits of your social security number, your birth date, any of that as a password. It's a very unsecure way and an easy way for someone to guess what your password is. Also, unfortunately, the mail system is becoming a little more unreliable, especially when it comes to checks. There are many scams of individuals grabbing checks, whitewashing them, changing the payee, changing the information or gathering your bank information from a check. So for paychecks, pension checks, government benefits, and investment distributions, we highly recommend setting up direct deposit. So it goes directly from the payee directly into your bank account without having to pass through the mail system and potentially being intercepted. And related to that, it's important to protect your incoming and outgoing mail. Do you have a secure mailbox? If not, it's important that you have that collected very quickly after it's delivered so that someone does not have the ability to take your mail. And related to that, also don't leave outgoing mail for pickup. Raising that little red flag on the side of a mailbox is also a red flag that, hey, I've got some information that could potentially be stolen, especially if you're paying a credit card bill or paying some other bill and there's a check in there. People do drive by looking for those mailbox flags and may gather it. I recommend taking it directly to a mailbox at the post office or something that's more secure rather than your outgoing. Even potentially handing it directly to your mail carrier when they come to deliver the mail. So you've taken all these precautions, and despite that, you have a situation where your emotions got in the way and you fell victim to a scam. What to do now that if you are scammed? And here are 4 steps that we would recommend. The first is, if you encounter or fall victim to a scam, report it to the Federal Trade Commission. And you can do that by going to reportfraud.ftc.gov. So that's important because that gathers that information together to help them battle against it. The second is contact your bank or credit card company immediately to warn them that you have been susceptible to a scam. It may need you to require to change bank accounts or cancel your credit card and get a new credit card issued, but make them aware of any challenges. And that may also go for your credit bureau, which we'll get to in just a minute. I'm jumping ahead of myself. But also report to that scam to law enforcement. Law enforcement do appreciate, especially if you have been scammed, so that they can become aware of it. They will see trends in local areas, and your information may help them kind of track down the person that is perpetrating that. And as I mentioned, while you're alerting your bank or credit card company, also consider alerting the credit bureaus. You can freeze or put a fraud alert on your credit to prevent anyone who may have gained your personal information from using it to open a new credit card account or other financial transactions. Here are the 3 main credit bureaus: Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. One of the things that you can do is go to annualcreditreport.com, and you can actually request all 3 at one time. However, one of the strategies that I would recommend you consider is by keeping an eye on your credit. It's always important. And one of the ways that you can do that is each of these 3 credit reporting agencies are required to give you at least 1 free credit report per year. So there's 3 of them, so you could set a calendar reminder to every 4 months request a credit report, and you just rotate between the 3 credit bureaus. So you request one in April, you request another one in August, and then another one in December, and just rotate through the 3 credit bureaus. And that's not only a way to keep an eye on fraud, but also just keep an eye for inconsistencies or errors on your credit report. So those are great ways to keep track of that. I would be very hesitant of any website that offers a free credit report that also is trying to get you to subscribe to a monitoring service. Just be a little hesitant of that. So I hope that this information is helpful. At Hammond Iles Wealth Advisors, we strive to keep our clients educated because we believe that an educated client is our best client. And for those of you that may not be a client of Hammond Iles, or if you're watching this video later, I want you to know that we're here to help. We offer free conversations with a financial coach that you can schedule either by scanning the QR code on the screen or by going to our website, hiwealth.com. One of the things that makes us unique in the financial advisory field is we have no minimum investment amount. We strive to work with families across multiple generations and know that we all start from somewhere. And so we have no minimum investment amount. And we offer these online financial power hours on a monthly basis, typically the second week of the month. And you'll find the recordings on our YouTube channel, as well as you can find links to our other videos, such as our Financial Fridays, through our social media. So please make sure that you follow, connect, like us, or subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get notifications when new videos are available. There are also other resources available on our website. You may be interested in the financial inventory workbook. That's a great way to gather your financial information to a central place for you as well as your family members if something should happen to you. So I thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. If we're not able to answer your questions as part of our presentation or not able to answer them during this webinar, or if you're watching the recording, we encourage you to reach out either by calling our office, sending an email to hello@hiwealth.com, or reaching out to us through our website.